Hey guys, it's Skybird, and if you would indulge me for a minute, I'm gonna become Old Man Yells at Cloud because I have one of the more interesting Bionicle Titans in front of me, and by interesting I mean he makes a few mistakes in my opinion. This is Tuma from 2009, and the reason we are going after him is because we've been on a little bit of this 2009 kick on the channel, but I like aspects of this set. I don't like this set very much as a whole. The helmet is great in my opinion. The lovely recolor of the Brutaka sword is also wonderful here, though by the time Bionicle would end, many of these pieces are not exclusive to this set. In fact, I believe the only exclusive pieces to this set are these feet, of course, the helmet itself. Everything else you can find elsewhere. These swords in the Tuma set. Of course, these swords, which should actually be lime green and not glow in the dark, but I'm apparently missing one for some reason. These swords are shared with the Firu set, so close to exclusive here. This set also should have had the Scrawl shield in lime green, and that's just an observation. Mostly because, why does it not? This set is apparently 188 pieces, which is 5 short of Brutaka. So why does this set feel so unfinished compared to something like that? Well, in part, this thing has a lot of pieces it just doesn't need to. For one thing, the arms on the back of it are double jointed. It has these Avmatoran limbs on there, and this is something that we would have seen the year prior in the Takanuva set. But why in this case? These arms are not much heavier than any other set. In fact, if you were to remove that arm and just change up how this foot is attached to the shoulder, then these arms would not be heavier than a standard Glatorian. So why do they need double jointed arms? About the only purpose that it serves is to limit the articulation of those shoulders. It bulks out the set, it adds pieces, but that's it. Neither of those are satisfactory reasons to me. If you got rid of both of those double jointed arms and fixed those shoulders in doing so, which would also get rid of that sort of unsightly gap in the shoulders that a lot of people complained about upon the reception of this set originally, this build would be reduced by 16 pieces. That is a lot. That is a significant amount of pieces just for double jointed arms, and it doesn't make sense to me. I could make the same argument for the legs as well, since the upper torso is not terribly heavy to begin with. I don't understand why we need double jointed legs. They actually limit the posability quite heavily. The leg can only go about this far forward and about this far back before it just can't go any further. And that surprises me because, again, this is not a terribly heavy set. He's a bit tall for the amount of parts given because his torso is relatively stretched out, but it's not heavy. It's done well, I will say. It's not super gappy, but it could be better. And so my thoughts are you could actually reduce the amount of parts further by getting rid of those double joints in the thighs. I kind of understand why they're there, in part because it does use the fragile 2008 style joints. Third, though, yet another gap in the set, and honestly, something that just feels clunky. These here, with the axle sticking out of the front that is black, this light gray and dark gray piece all in one spot, it feels weird when it's just showcasing this armor here, right? And what's interesting is that armor can be moved. It is actually a gap slightly, but there is one there just above the knee here. So it's about a half lift arm, a thin lift arm in thickness, but you can reduce that and actually reduce the pieces in this assembly by about half, meaning that you could get rid of another 6 pieces. In total, I have counted that by not significantly changing the actual aesthetic of the character, you could reduce about 33 pieces total from this entire set. And that's significant, because 33 pieces is suddenly like 1/6 of the set's entire parts count. Where else could those pieces go? What could they be put into? It just makes no sense to me that that wasn't done in the first place. So I find it odd. It's probably something I will take on. I don't know if I'm going to do it today necessarily, because I do like Tuma overall. As you can see, I have most of 2009 built over there with a handful of exceptions, and it's great. You know, it's one of my favorite years from Bionicle in terms of aesthetic and color specifically. I may even like it more than 2007, though I think 2007 is overall the stronger year. You get 6 Titans from 2007 instead of just the 2, and then the vehicles, of course. And Yeah, it's interesting. I'll definitely say that. I do like, as I mentioned, the helmet with its sort of Vaki-esque, whatever you want to call it, sort of head design here, which I think works out reasonably well. It looks good. It's small. It's not so cumbersome or clunky as to be unusable, you know? And I could see it being used on a smaller character. It is one of the larger helmets from 2009, but compared to the year prior with masks like the Evoki, which was absolutely enormous, it looks fine, you know? And I think that works. That's something I can say about the character as well, right? He's not overly detailed, overly designed, overly large. He looks fine. What's interesting to me is that when Bionicle would end, we'd get Hero Factory and we'd get the main villain for that series as well with Von Nebula. And Von Nebula shares a lot with Tuma in terms of aesthetics. The build is very different, but it also uses that same Paraka foot as the armor here. It uses the Mata foot at the base. It uses the Rakshi limbs in the legs. It uses a foot over top of the upper leg build, which is actually fairly similar to this one as well. So it's interesting. And I think I prefer that build overall to this one, but I like aspects of this one as well. The longer torso definitely works for this character specifically because he does have this sort of lanky design, which makes sense being a Skrull or a member of the Skrull. The first wave of Skrull all were pretty, well, I guess Atakis or whatever isn't really super lanky, but I'm not sure that Atakis is technically a Skrull either. Either way, though. They're still kind of stretched out. You get Stronius later, which kind of goes back to being a little bit short and bulky, which is fine. Yeah, it's an interesting set. I really like it. I like that it comes with some exclusive stuff. I wish it would have been more too, just because if you think about it, this was $20 when it came out. Brutaka was $20 when he came out, and Brutaka has way more exclusive parts. For a long time, the Borak eyes in gold were exclusive to that set. They've re-come out now with the newer mold. They had, of course, the Brutaka swords, which weren't exclusive to him. They came in a lot of play sets and obviously would be featured later in some sets as well. But at the time, were exclusive to him. Between those two things, the Hordika foot in gold, the hockey skate piece in gold, the tube pieces in gold, the Chronicler staff in pearl gold, like there was a lot. Again, many of those pieces have since been recolored, recreated, but even when this set came out, many of these pieces were recolored and used elsewhere, right? Again, these green swords already come on the Tarduk set, so seeing them here, as cool as it is kind of, it's not special anymore, you know? And it feels even weirder here, being that it's a black sword and then it fades to green. It's a strange concept. I don't even know what they're going for there. So maybe this should have been black. I don't know. Anyway, the last thing I will say in terms of a review of the set itself, the feet just look clunky. I don't really care for them, honestly. It looks like the spike pieces are tacked on. They don't feel like they're actually a part of the foot. And it's very clear, you know, that LEGO was trying to like coordinate their colors. One piece in this set, for example, only appears in light bluish gray. It doesn't appear in other colors elsewhere. So I get it. It's cheaper to make it this way, and that's fair. But I don't care. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, I think. I think Tuma is overall a really solid Titan as a build, but he's definitely something that just needs to be touched up upon on his own. Because he's so clunky otherwise, you know? But he looks good. He's good on a shelf. Like I said, I keep him back there, usually behind the Ezra, the Mist on the upper shelf there, so... but that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you are subscribed. It really does help out the channel. And of course, as always, you can check out Discord, Instagram, and Patreon in the description below. And of course, leave a comment if you want to let me know your thoughts on Tuma, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.